Mal, you have been in recruitment since 2016, if my research serves me right, and you've been with us here at Montreal since 2019. Is that right?
Correct. Yes, exactly. It's going on
Ah,
5 years total.
yeah, right. And have you always
Yeah.
worked in the same industry?
Like in recruitment, yes. Like straight out of uni, straight into recruitment, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And no, in a few different areas of tech, but definitely always tech.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's say always tech.
And what's that journey been like for you here over the last few years?
It's been good. Different field, right? I used to work in a very big company with, tens of thousands of people all over the world, right? Offices of 60 plus, right? Was very normal. Do you know what I mean? To a company that in its entirety at the time was approaching 200, right? Very, very different environments. And as much as it was an adjustment, to me, it was also like, in some ways, super refreshing, right? Of course, at the beginning, in some ways, that you definitely miss the luxuries that some big companies can offer, whether it be with technology at the time or support in different areas, this and that. But I think once, I think it was the perfect time, really, for me to go to a bit of a smaller company where, if you really want to kind of, I don't want to say like the ownership is necessarily different, because before, like, the ownership is still very good over whatever I was doing, but like the impact you have on the company as a whole is definitely very different, right? Your ability to impact an office at a company, like a very big one, as an example, in a company like this is equivalent to impacting the company in its entirety, which can be quite cool for the right person, right?
Yeah.
So the biggest thing for me that I would say, the reason why, like, I joined Montreal, and I think at the time it was more just to get like a global perspective, essentially. Like in any big company that's on a global scale, essentially, it's been operating that way for many years. You're very much like assigned to whatever market you live in, right? I'm not 100% sure the way that it kind of works now, but a lot of the time, like, you're working in your market, you're a specialist in that market, which is super interesting for sure. But going into, I would say, more of like the global role that I ended up in, like up until now, you're across different borders, you're speaking to people from all over the world. Like, that to me is something like I always wanted to do from uni. I just never knew like recruitment would take me there, essentially. And that, I would say, is kind of what brought me to Montreal, but like in essence what's also kept me here. Like the biggest differentiating factor between this and like what a lot of recruitment companies just don't have, just doesn't make sense for their business to really offer that. And I can totally respect that. It just, for us, it really does work that our team is very global. We all have our areas for sure, but like in the morning, I could be on the call or on the phone with Germany, in the afternoon with San Francisco, like it's Singapore sometimes. Like, it's very, very global, which I think is super, super cool. And yeah, that's why I'm still here.
Yeah. I think if I think about my career within recruitment, I think recruitment as an industry is very nimble, and you find that, I was able to carve out my space and take on more and more and more things in all the different roles I've had. But actually, when you come to a small organization, that ability to influence change and take on new things happens even quicker, because the decision making is done in a much smaller group of people.
It's not necessarily just the ability to move fast. It's just there's so much space in the org where we're at a point where we can take it anywhere we want, as opposed to like, hey, look, as much as we've been doing it X amount of way for X amount of years, it does take time for us to make this shift. Whereas like within 6 months, we're now doing something that like a year ago we never would have thought we were doing. Do you know what I mean? So
absolutely.
Yeah. I agree with you there for sure. Nimble, speed, in a good way.
Yeah. What are the 3 things that we're good at?
We've gotten a lot better with internal communication for sure. I'll give us that. I think that's just, I think maybe a lot of people don't think of it this way, but like we are a company that, is slowly getting, more and more people from different, like even just starting with different parts of Europe. Now outside of Europe, right? Communication styles in that are like, everyone has their own way of listening and speaking and all that kind of thing. So I think at a point where we were at like a hyper growth stage, we were getting all these people at once from all these different places. Maybe communication for some people was hitting and other people weren't, and there was that. But I think we're at a point now where the company's starting to really find a good way to hit everybody on like a nice common ground that brings people together a bit more, gives them a bit more comfort, and we're at a point where like I think that's really it, right? We can now be properly on a growth stage because everyone has like some good trust. They understand the messaging, all of these good things. So communication for sure, I think has come a long way, even in just these past couple of years. Another thing we do really well is, I mean, I think for people who are self-starters in a sense where like they will take the time to like do self-study and learn on their own as opposed to just like what they do in their job. Like they really like they take ownership in their day-to-day. Like, this is my job. They take pride in their work, all that good stuff. I think for people like that, I think we do a really good job of not, to be honest, not burning those people out. I know a lot of recruiters from different companies, right, who are in typical like recruitment boiler room environment still to this day, right? And it's not really like that here. As much as like we still have targets you have to hit, like any performance-based place, I've never really felt a point where like I'm being pushed in the wrong way by anyone. There are people in the organization who push me, but like I think they found the right way to do that, and I'm in a place where like I do motivate myself like quite a bit in a lot of different ways where like they see that, they understand that, and they've adapted, I think, their leadership style to like lift me up as opposed to just like, try and always like light a fire under my butt or whatever that like some managers think is like the best way to do it, which for some people is great. And for some people, not so much. And I'm not saying at all that I personally experienced that anywhere else, but I do know the way recruitment companies are. And I do think Montreal does a pretty good job of that, of literally just that. So that's two. I think if you're somebody who's interested in recruiting from a global perspective and working on a team that spans across multiple different geographies and areas of technology that are in particularly hot at the moment, it could be an interesting environment as a whole for you. But to me, the way I see it, I mean, with offices in London, in Barcelona, Brussels, right? Coming Toronto pretty soon, at least. I think we're starting to see a really good opportunity for people who want to come in and perform, see a lot of the different corners of the world and get business experience in those corners. And to me, like, that's like why I would join 100%. Like, that's something that I don't think you can get in many places. Actual global business experience. That's like what's most exciting to me. That's what motivates me essentially to still work every day and do what we do is literally that. So yeah, that's I think the really big awesome point, right? When things stabilize, like I'll be flying back out to Barcelona every now and again. The team will probably be flying out to Toronto. We'll probably go to London at some point. Like, it's really going to continue to sort of grow that way. And I think it's only going to get better and better the more we sort of scale the team. So yeah.